Hello, all. A very good morning and good evening to everyone joining across the globe. Warm greetings from Indian Federation of Spiritual Scientists. Welcome all to the program. Well, today is yet another beautiful day. We are having an amazing guest, Christian Karow, who's going to take us through this wonderful topic. IFSS, as you all know, is Indian Federation of Spiritual Scientists. Very soon we are going to, make it International Federation of Spiritual Scientists. The paperwork are still in its way, and the purpose of IFSS, as you all know, is to bring together and align the wisdom and research of all the spiritual scientists from India and rest of the world. We are providing this as a platform to learn the wisdom and the knowledge that's being out there so that it can be put to the best use of mankind. Well, with that, let me welcome once again Shibu. I know you're regular, but after a long time, I'm seeing you on the camera, and you're going to don the role of a host today. So wonderful to have you, Shibu. Thank you so very much, and we are so pleased and so happy to have Christian also on for this session. Well, I'll leave it to Shibu to introduce Christian Karow. Welcome, Christian. We are so happy to have you here. I have no other words. Over to you, Shibu.
Thank you, Sunil. Good evening to you. Good morning, good evening, everybody. Good morning, Christian. I know it's very, very early. Morning. And first of all, to the participants, I know it's a Saturday early morning here in the US and Saturday evening in India and other places, right? So mine would have given us so many excuses not to be here, right? It's a weekend. I worked hard during this week and let me do something else, right? Let me at least sleep. Still, all of us made it here. Let's start with a round of applause to ourselves, right? We are all here. That itself is half the job done. All right, so again, Sunil, as you said, we did the My Time program. It was a really good 33-day program. After that, it's been a while, but glad to be back and good to see everybody, all the smiling faces and everyone. All right, so the topic for today is essence of Vipassana. It's such a beautiful topic. And if you do a Google search on the word Vipassana, it says seeing things as they really are, right? What does that mean? Aren't we seeing things? Just to understand, to do a deep dive on this, to gain a really good intellectual understanding about this, we have an amazing master and a speaker, as Sunil mentioned, Christian Karow. A quick intro about Christian. He was born and raised in Germany. He came in touch with the Vipassana practice at the age 24, and he started serving regularly while living in Spain and traveling in India. Eventually, he has moved back to the US and is currently a teacher at Dhamma Center in Georgia, USA. And from a personal side, he was also my teacher when I did my Vipassana, and I was fortunate enough to meditate with him for 10 days. So thank you so much for being here, Christian, for accepting our invite and joining such an early morning. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you, Shibu. Pleasure to be here. It's happy to see people going a peak hour today.
Well, as you can see, Christian, the audience are familiar with Anapana. So that is how typically in our programs, we usually do 45 minutes of Anapana meditation before we do any sessions, before we talk and interact with the wisdom session. Today it's short and sweet, but still we are all in the calm state, which is great. So Christian, let me dive right into the topic. So what is Vipassana, right? What is Vipassana and why should we consider it? When we talk about meditation, it's usually talked about from calming the mind perspective. Is that the goal here?
Yes, very good question. Generally, we have to. You mentioned Vipassana as insight meditation, and this is essentially what it is. There's different kinds, at least different starting paths to then go into an area where all of these different starting paths may converge and work on the main object of what Vipassana meditation is. You could generally define it in different ways. One would be, for example, you are getting to know yourself at deeper levels of your mind. You could define it in this specific tradition that I am doing, this type of meditation, that type of Vipassana that I am doing, as working on a deeper level with the body sensations of your mind, therefore starting this process of purification of the mind. So there's different ways in which you can describe Vipassana, simply because there's different angles to it. You become more aware of yourself, you explore yourself, you are trying to purify your mind, you are trying to develop spiritual growth. So there's different ways in which you can look at it and describe it. But in essence, that's what it is. Vipassana is looking within yourself and see what you can find there, essentially.
Thank you so much for that, Christian. Before we go any further, Christian, I just want to understand, I just want to do a quick poll and see the familiarity of our participants with Vipassana, right? Somebody might have heard about Vipassana, somebody might have done the 10-day course. Just want to see so we can tailor the program accordingly. So can you guys fire the poll? All right. Can everybody see it? The question is your familiarity with the technique of Vipassana. So you can choose either I've done one or more 10-day Vipassana course. I haven't done a course, but I've heard about it. That's second choice. And the third choice is haven't heard about Vipassana, but I'm curious. That's amazing. All right, so I think this is good enough. It's pretty stable now. So as you can, Christian, so as you can see, 20% of us have done the course, and 80% have either heard about it or not heard about it, right? But it's really curious about it. That's just a great platform. I think this kind of gives us the view of the landscape, and so we can tailor this accordingly.
So many of you have either said a course or heard about the course. It's actually not common. So that's quite unusual. A large number of people that have at least heard about it. Obviously, this is a specific audience that is more prone to having interest in the subject, but it's still great to see those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And and this is, we Cyril did talk about this. We do bring a lot of spiritual scientists, the masters into this program. Meditation is given that most importance. We always start with meditation. So this audience is very familiar. But I was also not expecting that 20% of us would have already done this course, which is great. And the rest of us are very curious about it. I'm very, very happy about this. So Christian, my question to start with itself is, why is this a 10-day program? Why does it have to be a 10-day program? Now everything is online, right? Especially after COVID. So why can't we just do why can't we just do this at home as an online course? Why is it different? Why does it have to be in a 10-day course in a center which is far away?
Yeah. Very good question. I briefly wanted to mention, just because you said it a couple of times now, the word master. I by no means consider myself a master of this. Very much still a learning process. I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more. But I just wanted to put that out there. In regards to your question, yeah, the course itself, there's reasons why it's a 10-day course. There's reasons why it's very beneficial to learn it in a framed setting, specific setting with the framework and that it is in, and with the different rules and regulations that are given for the course. As you take the Vipassana course, those of you who've taken one know it, the course progressively develops, and you're being taught specific tools and specific processes of your mind, of your concentration, of your being, essentially, that simply take time to develop. This is why, as a beginner who has never done this, in order to actually acquire these tools and learn this technique, you do need the time to actually get there. So the course is structured in a way that progressively, over the first 4 days, it's mainly what you would consider anapana meditation, but it actually progressively leads you to the ability of actually feeding your sensations, which is the base for Vipassana meditation. And then the rest of the course, the second part, you are developing bit by bit the totality of the technique as it is taught in this tradition, meaning the way that you're able to feel your body sensations, develop a system for yourself in which you do this, start understanding the background, the reasons for it. This is not a ritualistic process that we do so that we can say, oh, we did this and now something is supposed to happen. It's an actual constant interaction between your mind, matter, and how that influences your being, your state of mind, and how you can use that process by understanding it and developing the necessary awareness and concentration to actually get benefit from it. So in summary, in order to learn this technique in its entirety, 1 or 2 or 3 days is not enough for almost all people. There is some people who grasp it a bit quicker. There is some people who take a bit longer to grasp it. But the 10-day format has become, kind of a benchmark for that seems to be a good time where you can properly learn it, where you have, as you know, on the last day, kind of a day called the bumper day, where you actually start to talk again, you interact with your fellow students, get prepared to go out into the world again. So all of this combined over many, many courses seem to have become very clear that a 10-day format is actually helpful and beneficial.
Absolutely. And thanks, Christian. And again, I know the course, the moment it opens up in the Dhammapadapa Center, in a day or so, it just gets filled up, right? That's how popular this course is, right? Everybody wants to do it. It has to be, a lot of people want to do repeat courses. Once you have tasted it, you just have to keep doing it, right? Because it is so great. And Christian, I can tell you from my personal experience when I was doing it, to seeing the mind so up close, it's more like a mirror, right? I can see when a random person walks by, who's got nothing to do with me, can see what's going on in my mind. I'm starting judging the person, the way he's dressing, the way he's walking, but nothing to do with me. So it's actually such a great experience. So I want to talk a little bit about your own personal journey, Christian. I know Vipassana came to you at the age of 24. How did that happen? Is this your first meditation technique, or how did this all happen?
Yeah. So in my case, I grew up without any religious background. I grew up in East Germany, so that was a socialist society where religion played no role whatsoever. My parents weren't really actively practicing a religion, and so religion was never a topic in my life, other than the common thing that you pick up, your knowledge development, etc. So, I think the whole mindset of being curious about these type of things started as I started traveling the world. During my college years, I spent more time traveling than I spent in college. And not that that's a recommendation for anybody to approach it that way, but that just so happened to be the way that was in my case. And as you start traveling, you start seeing different types of people, different cultures, and some things start piquing your curiosity or your interest. But even then, there was never something that actually kind of made me start practicing or looking deeper into something. And then I eventually met my wife while traveling, and eventually we got married. And just a month or so before our wedding, one of my wife's best friends, she came back from India, from having traveled India. And she just told us, hey guys, da-da-da. And so I did this thing for 10 days. You just can't talk. You have to sit for 10, 12 hours a day and meditate. And when you tell that to the average person, the reaction is, "Oh, I could never do that. That sounds so." Both my wife, Joy, and my reaction were, "Oh, that sounds so interesting. We have to look into that." And then that friend said that actually a couple months from then, there was a gypsy course, which, to anybody not familiar, Vipassana is not only taught in centers, but in areas where there are no centers, people rent a space for 10 days and then a course is given there. So that's what's called a gypsy course. So one gypsy course like that was at the time in Miami, and we just decided to sign up. My wife even quit her work for it because they wouldn't give her the time off. Then we set the course. And while we were not immediately sticking with, the technique in the sense of practicing every day, but something in that course clicked as we learned the technique. And I think immediately after the course, we knew there was something there. Something had changed. We discovered something. We couldn't quite get completely out of our old habits yet. Some people jump immediately into practicing it every day on their first course. In the majority of cases, that's not the way it goes. It usually takes some time to really become interested and more serious about it. And so then over time, over a few years, we took another course and another course. And eventually we decided that we really should give this a proper try, a serious try. And we just never looked back, essentially.
Wow, that's amazing, Christian. So initial days, right? I know you did multiple courses before fully committing to this, but the initial days, how was the mind? How did you decide to stick on with this practice, right? Is it because of you got any benefits out of it? Or is it just that there was a promise? Or what is the reason?
Yeah. So in our case, and I know this is relatively familiar, if you sit the full 10-day course, you usually start experiencing moments of clarity, of inner peace. You may become more aware of who you are, why you are who you are, how this whole mind matter phenomenon that is called Shibu or Christian actually works. And these moments stick with you. And then you go back out in the world and you may forget most about everything and you're under your normal habits and influences, etc. But these moments are moments of deep and profound awareness that you have. And they do surface again and again in different situations, etc. So something sticks with you there, some clarity of, who you are and maybe what you're supposed to be doing actually. But there is some profound wisdom that develops that keeps resurfacing occasionally. And because of that, we said, well, let's take another course. And eventually, let's take another course. And as you accumulate these moments of wisdom, momentary wisdom, a deeper underlying wisdom builds that eventually, in our case, made us decide, well, what are we doing? Why aren't we actually really spending our time with what in theory we know we should be doing or want to be doing? And eventually we decided to really make it a daily habit. And once you make it a daily habit, then it's just a natural progression of developing more and more of this inner peace, wisdom, clarity, etc. So from there on, it really is a self-fulfilling topic almost.
Yep. So it's interesting that you mentioned the word progression, right? From the time that one person mentioned about the 10-day course to your wife to all the way now where you are living right next to the center and teaching, right? It's a big journey. And I know, Christian, there is a lot of importance given to the experiential part of it, right? One is in your own personal journey, one is you heard about it, right? There is a knowledge which came to you, heard about it. To your credit, you and your wife decided to give it a try. And so you might have analyzed it, right? So those are the three type of knowledge and wisdom which Goenkaji talks about, right? The Suttamaya Prajna and, the Chindanamaya Prajna and the Bhavanamaya Prajna. Can you talk a little bit about it? Why is so much importance given to the experiential part of it. Right? This is all experiential. Why is it?
Yeah, it's very important topic to realize. You'll only realize it by experience. This mechanism of developing wisdom, in the course, Goenka brings up several examples of how to look at this. There is wisdom that is not your wisdom. You hear about it, you read about it, you just, it comes from an outside source and you accept it. Fire is hot. Many of us, even a simple wisdom as fire is hot, we actually don't really accept until we experience it ourselves. We probably all had this moment in our childhood. Don't touch that, that's hot. Don't touch that, that's hot. You hear it 5 times, yet you have to touch it because you have to see it for yourself. And then you burn yourself and now you realize it's hot. Okay. So these 3 stages of wisdom that you mentioned, one is just this you hear the wisdom, you read about it. It's an outside wisdom. It's not your wisdom. The second is when your mind can logically build that wisdom, where there's an understanding of why this is the way it is. In the case of fire, okay, you have an understanding of the chemical process, for example, etc. And there is a theoretical understanding of a certain subject matter, a certain wisdom, but not until you experience it for yourself in your own direct experience is it your wisdom. So this is so very important in the context of Vipassana because the technique itself and the Vipassana meditation is an actual process of purification of the mind. And unless you are not experiencing that process for yourself, there is no effect. That process doesn't really take place until you consciously experience it. Once you do that, it becomes your wisdom, you will get the benefits from it, and you will able to progress accordingly. But as long as it is heard wisdom or read wisdom or simple wisdom that you for yourself can intellectually understand, but have not experienced, it is not your wisdom. So in that regard, it's so important to experience it for yourself. Otherwise, it's just something that you heard or something that you intellectualize, not something that's going to give you benefit.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian. So from this context, can you also explain the dhamma, right? Dhamma or dharma. What does it mean? I know it is so overloaded, but from this context, can you explain that a little bit for our audience and all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should start off with dhamma. I'm using the Pali version of the dhamma. Dhamma actually has several meanings. So already in the Pali language, and I assume in Sanskrit, actually has several meanings. The context and meaning that we mostly talk about is dhamma, as you can almost call it the nature of the universe, the whole, how everything works. What is this universe? What are the forces that are driving it, moving it? How do things relate? So this is why it's such a big topic, because it's literally the description of how everything works, how things, interact, what's the relation of one thing to another, and how that manifests in ourselves, for everybody else. It's a description of the nature of everything, essentially. So you can spend years just studying this intellectually or experientially, and until you've literally explored every aspect of it, you will not know the totality of Dhamma. But it is the description of the principles that govern our existences, that govern how everything basically works, exists, relates to each other. So that in a nutshell is what we often refer to as Dhamma, the totality of everything, and the underlying laws of nature and relations that govern it.
And thanks, Christian. How does the Shila, the 3 parts, right? The Shila, samadhi, and the prajna, right? The three part of it all fit in. Because again, if you apply the same thing, the Shila as well, to what you just mentioned earlier, right? We all know we should not be killing and all of those things, right? We all know this. But when a real life situation hits us, it's difficult, right? And that's when, so I think that, so from a concept of dhamma, not concept, from dhamma and applying these three, and just connect these, because it's from a practical perspective, right?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And maybe we start with the reason why it hits you in a real life situation and you can hardly follow it anymore, because it takes practice. Anything that you want to learn or include and develop in your life will take practice. It doesn't happen from one moment to the next, where you had nothing of a certain characteristic, and then all of a sudden, oh, now I got it, and then you have it completely. So everything takes time to develop. And that is the same with Shila, morality or ethics, samadhi, so the concentration of the mind in our case, and panya, the wisdom. These three things are the basic principles. It's one way of looking at the basic principles of how your journey in this life and your existence in the end can be put in a certain framework that then can be steered towards a direction that you find beneficial. Shila, morality, these rules that you mentioned, don't kill, don't steal, etc. Look at it like the basement of your house that you want to build. Mm-hmm. Without this foundation, without this base, you won't be able to build a house. You can try to start building the house and the structure of your house on sand or dirt or whatever it is, but you will never have a stable enough foundation to actually keep all the pieces in place that you're building. So it's just going to keep, breaking, falling apart, etc. So Shila, morality, is simply the base you need, and on which then the next one, samadhi, can thrive. Samadhi, the concentration of the mind. There's many different ways of concentration of mind. As you know, there's many different meditations. Concentration of the mind in the context of Vipassana is not a goal in itself. It's merely a tool that will then enable you to go to the next stage of prajna, the wisdom that you develop, because you started concentrating your mind. So that's why in Vipassana, object concentrating your mind is an object of reality. That's why we don't work with imaginations, visualizations, mantras, or any other things. We only work with the reality of the breath. So in this case, in this tradition, we're feeling your breath in a certain area. And with that, we develop the concentration and sensitivity of the mind to clearly feel that breath. So Shila, as the base, leads to your ability of concentrating the mind with an object that is a real object, not an imaginary object. Having been able to develop a certain concentration of your mind, you now have a mind sensitive enough to feel your body sensations, which is yet a deeper aspect of reality of your being. And by being able to start feeling your body sensations and not continue this pattern of blind reaction to your body sensations, which your body and your mind is doing 24/7, whether you're aware of it or not, but to become aware of these body sensations and be able to not blindly react to them anymore, little by little. This is the wisdom part, and that is what actually kickstarts this process of purification. And so you need Shila, the foundation. You need samadhi as the preparation or the sharpening of the tool to then practice prajna. And as you go through the process of this meditation and in your life, these three start supporting each other. A strong concentration supports strong wisdom. Strong wisdom gives you a clearer understanding of why Shila is important, and a better understanding of how to concentrate your mind, etc., etc. So the three just support each other in their development together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christian. And that's why it is not linear, it is cyclic, right? Because each and everything, as you said, kind of supports each other. Because then the Shila is not something textbook or not something which I've heard, but it is ingrained. That's a way to be. And that's actually such a profound experience. And I can see this progression actually when you do this course as well, right? Because the Shila is kind of forced on you.
Yeah.
There is no other way, because you cannot talk, which means you cannot lie, and it's beautiful. And the way you can see, and then slowly the samadhi happens. The progression is absolutely beautiful, as I said.
And people, this is it basically. How do you start out? You're in life. You're the person of Christian or Shibu or whoever, and you want to do this now. You want to start developing wisdom. How do you start? You have all these habits, all these tendencies that are probably not in line with Shila. So where is the starting point? So this is why you're kind of, as you said, being forced into a environment where you do not break your Shila. So now you have a base, even a temporary base. With this base, you're now able to start develop your concentration and eventually your wisdom. So this is why, that you need to start somewhere, and building this base of Shila is the solid starting point. But these three constantly interact with each other.
Absolutely. And Christian, in the Vipassana, right, one of the key aspects is about understanding and experiencing the impermanence or anicca, right? Experiencing it, personal experience of impermanence. And what is impermanence and how is it helping us?
Yeah. So impermanence, again, you can look at it from many different angles. The essence that is very crucial to first this technique and second, our overall existence in this world, this concept of anicca, of constant change, becomes crucial when you start realizing that your entire being and your entire mode of existing is trying to retain things that you find pleasant or good or nice, and try to reject things that you find unpleasant or not nice. So your tendency is the opposite of anicca, the opposite of change. You're trying to either keep things as they are, or not have things be as they are. But what you're not open to is that things are constantly going to move and change and evolve, etc. So that is an overall concept of why anicca and this understanding of constant change is so important. It makes you eventually realize you have no control over it. It changes all the time anyways. So may as well find a way to arrange yourself with that constant change and actually benefit from it and be in line and in peace with it. And then, of course, a deeper aspect of this anicca is once you start, if you're a physicist, you already know this, but there is no solidity in the actual physical universe, even in the matter itself. Everything is just wavelets, energy, constantly changing, evolving, etc. And however solid something may appear at the surface level of reality, and the deeper aspects of reality, as all physicists and many other people have started to understand and know, there is no solidity. Everything changes all the time. And you can develop your mind and your wisdom to the degree where you experience this on your own mind matter phenomenon, on your own body. And this deep understanding of what actually happens at the deeper level of reality and awareness, that grows this understanding of everything is changing all the time anyway. What's the use in me clinging to this or trying to reject that? Just find a way to be at peace with this constant change, and it will be so much healthier for you and your life.
Beautiful. Now, I actually remember that one example which Goenkaji gives in his discourse, the candle, keeps flickering, right? The candle is flickering, then there is a light. The light is constant, appears to be constant. Both are the same. Just that one we can perceive it as flickering, and the other we just cannot perceive it. Both are the same. Both are flickering. Different.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, he says, the candle, it appears constant, but if you look really carefully, you develop some concentration, you look really carefully, you can actually see how it's constantly changing. And then he gives the example of your light switch, your electricity, where you cannot see it anymore. You have the impression you switch on the light and there's light. And there's constant light. And when you switch off, then there's no more light. What actually happens when you switch it on, there's this constant stream of electricity, this constant flow of electricity that then, because of the way that the light bulb is made, results in light appearing. But this light, every moment that this electricity just flows through, so every moment it's new light, but because of our perception and the lack of our ability to perceive it at that rapidity and that frequency, it appears to us as being solid light, but it's not. So it's a great example of how, oh wait, this seems solid, there's always light, but there's nothing solid about it. It's a constant flow of electricity.
Yeah, the possibilities are great with this example, right? The same with the body or anything else, any structure, right? Everything is changing, everything is moving.
Yeah. And it's another great example for this, the Bhavanamaya Panya and Chittamaya Panya. So all the physicists, they understand this phenomenon at the deepest level very clearly. They know exactly, yes, these are the smallest units, the atoms or subatomic particles, etc., are constantly, in move and in flux, and this is how all the structure of matter is actually built. But they do not experience it in their own framework of body, in their own mind-matter phenomenon. So there's Chittanamaya Panya, and then there's Bhavanamaya Panya, which is your direct experience of it. And this direct experience of anicca in your own reality, your own framework of body-mind, that is what gives you that underlying wisdom to actually understand deeply how you then can align yourself with it and how you can exist with it.
Another important thing is the equanimity part of it, right? So now that we understand the changing nature, and if you talked about sensations as well, right? I mean, many a times when someone gives me a great praise, I can see, and praises me, I can see there's a beautiful sensation. I like it. The reverse is also true. How do we stay equanimous, and why is it important to be equanimous in either ways?
Yeah, it's one of the main topics that is being emphasized during the course, and as you will notice, if you continue practicing, because it's becoming a staple in your life. It's two parts that are important to your development in this. It's awareness and equanimity. So specifically awareness of your body sensations, because that is the functionality of your mind-matter phenomenon at the deepest level, awareness of your body sensation, and then equanimity with these body sensations. And equanimity, for those who don't know, is merely a description of non-reacting. You are accepting what is happening. You are not reacting to it. The habit pattern of our mind, our whole lives, and who knows how long before that, has been to constantly react on deeper levels of your consciousness that you're not aware of, but constantly react 24/7, every moment, to your body sensations. If they're pleasant, then there's a tendency to crave for them, want more of them, want to retain them. If they're unpleasant, then there is the tendency to get rid of them, to not want them to be there, to not experience them. By now having developed your concentration and becoming aware of this, and being able to start observing these body sensations, becoming aware of your constant tendency to react to them, pleasant, good, unpleasant, bad, you now start seeing how your whole mind-matter phenomenon actually works at the deepest level. And this equanimity is so important because this process of reacting to your body sensation is actually what builds the fuel at the deepest level for your continued existence, to put it in a nutshell. These habits and tendencies that you build when you keep reacting to your body sensations become deeply ingrained habit patterns of craving and aversion. Once you stop reacting to your body sensations, you essentially stop giving your mind food to go from moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. Throughout our lives, our mind is flowing from moment to moment. And by you stopping, becoming aware, and then stopping to give more food by reacting to these body sensations, now you actually start clearing your accumulated stock of these habit patterns. Because instead of reacting and adding more fuel to your vast fuel tank that fuels your mind flow, you now started to not react. So you had to start consuming some of your already accumulated fuel, so to speak. He talks about sankharas, and we don't have to get into this in deep, but that's this fuel. It's your own habit patterns that you build and that act as fuel for your continued flow of mind, essentially. By not reacting to them, building equanimity to them, you actually stop this process of adding more and more and more fuel, and actually start consuming what is already there, what you have built. And over time, if you really manage to progress and become good at this awareness, equanimity thing, there will come a point where all the fuel has been used up. And that's the moment, when your mind is truly purified. So that is in a very, big picture nutshell, why equanimity is so important. But you don't even have to go to that deeper analytical level. Equanimity in your life will help you so much. Something unpleasant happens in life, you started to build a habit of awareness and equanimity. Now you're not reacting to it, or you're not reacting to it as strongly anymore. It can't affect your own peace of mind so much, or maybe at all in an ideal situation. So you, instead of becoming another person that reacts and increases whatever that negative situation or tendency is, you're actually now becoming, first of all, somebody who's not affected by it, or not affected by it as much. And because of that, you act with more clarity, more calmness, and you may start actually adding a positive note to whatever is happening in life. And like this, instead of building more negativity and more drama, whatever it may be, you actually start turning it into something positive, something that is beneficial for yourself and others. So this equanimity plays a big, big role. You have to be aware, and you have to be non-reactive. And that is how progress and calmness and peace in your own life is going to start manifesting.
Yeah, it's such a profound thing, Christian. Because, understanding this deeply, like profoundly, is a life changer, right? Because then the life situations won't be situations anymore. Those are opportunities.
Yeah.
Because you are seeing newer aspects of yourself. Things which you have never seen start surfacing. It's like a drama with yourself. You can start observing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. So just generally taking it back to the meditation aspect of it, right? Because, there are, as we did the poll, 80% of us haven't done Vipassana, and quite a number of us have not even heard about Vipassana, right? So maybe a few of us are new to meditation. So a lot of people, meditation is now the buzzword, right? Every company promotes it. Mindfulness has become an overloaded term. People come into this with a lot of expectations, right? The moment I start meditating, I'll be calmer, right? That a lot of things will change around me. And since it is expectation based, I see a lot of people not sticking to meditation. After that, they just stop it because the common excuse is, this is not for me. It's not going to work for me. Can you give some general advice or tips based on your life journey and what you have seen, Christian?
Yeah, it's if you look at it from the view you as the person that you are, each one of us, we have built certain habits and patterns over large periods of time. You can look at it in this life, imagine how many years you've built certain habit patterns, in most cases blindly, and they become very strong. They become overpowering. This is what actually is happening on a daily basis. You've developed this unconscious reacting that we talked about. This has become the governing pattern of your life. And there's a part that is awareness, but a lot of what is driving your behavior in life is actually happening at deeper levels of your mind that you're not necessarily aware of. And those same strong habit patterns surface again when you come in touch with meditation, and you will know from your own experience, the first part of the course is difficult. Because you're told to do something that you've never done before. You're told to sit down and concentrate your mind consistently throughout the day with hardly any breaks. That is exhausting in a physical sense because you usually haven't done that before. Especially in the West, people are not used to sitting cross-legged or sitting on the floor, etc. And it's not necessary to sit cross-legged necessarily, but just sitting in one place is something that rarely anybody does anymore these days in their normal lives. So this inertia, it's, the physical concept of inertia, the initial resistance that you have to overcome to get an object moving or whatever it may be, the same thing applies here as well. You have to overcome an initial, sometimes quite large and difficult start obstacle in order to get something moving and get something rolling. And in meditation, this is what it is. You're now doing something that your mind is not used to. You're going outside of the comfort zone. And Cuenca says it beautifully when he says these impurities, or we can call these habit patterns, these negativities, they, at some point a long time ago, they were just guests of the house. But they've become owners of the house. They've become so deeply ingrained in your being that is now what is governing the whole existence. And to reverse that process, you have to overcome this initial obstacle and difficulty. So this is why both in a course where it's hard for people, the first, second, third day is the hardest because it's so unfamiliar and you're doing something that your mind does not want you to do because the habit pattern that you're trying to change is so strong. And the same in the context of somebody may have set a course and actually noticed during the course, oh, look, there's something here. I understand something. I experience something. I see some benefit here. But then you're out in the real world again. And instead of sitting 12 hours and observing yourself and starting to develop this wisdom, your mind is with outside objects 24/7 again. And you forget very quickly how it was when you had this clarity of deeper aspects of your mind. And for some, for many, actually most people, it's difficult to continue at the level of daily effort to develop this wisdom and progress. So everybody's different. Everybody has the conditionings that they have. It's just a matter of fact. And for some have built already more wisdom in previous lives or in this life, where they're actually able to build on that and are able to overcome these difficulties and continue on that path of spiritual growth, progress more easily than others. But no effort is wasted. Every effort that you make does bear fruit. And it's just a matter of making effort and making effort again and making effort again. And eventually you reach a point where there's a consistency. And from there, it just keeps developing more naturally. But yes, it's not easy.
Yep. Thank you for that beautiful explanation, Christian. And the same applies even for experienced meditators, right? There's no difference. You can see that the intensity goes down. It goes through various phases, right? Because, there will be a group of friends. I mean, their interests would be different. The family members, so many situations comes in, right? I think I'm pretty sure the same applies.
Yeah, absolutely. All these influences in your life, many of them are not going to be geared towards, what it is that you are maybe now trying to do, develop wisdom in your mind, purify your mind, or however you want to describe it. The majority of beings, that's not their goal in life. We're being taught completely different things when we grew up. Actually, in India, you're probably a bit closer to, this view of the world. Spiritualism has a real value and a real place in some of the societies in the East, like India, etc. But our life has become so focused on other things that have nothing to do with, spiritual development or even basic sila sometimes, etc. So if you grew up in that your whole life, you're conditioned by that your whole life, and it can be challenging to start this unconditioning process. Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, I know it's probably taken more time, and so now, there's this whole video, but so now I cannot end the session without getting into the service part of it. I want to know from Christian, because without that, I don't think the session is complete. I have a lot more questions. I'm not going to go into that, but without the service side of it, right, Christian? What you talked about, the meditator part of you, the meditator Christian, right? Then you came into service. What was different and what has changed? Can you talk about the service, the teacher part of you, right?
Yeah, it's service is not just the teacher or assistant teacher, as we call it, part. Look at it from the point of, as you start developing a peace of mind, start to develop these positive qualities that come with at least trying to, purify the mind. Compassion builds the simple will to see others do well, and maybe in some shape or form help them do well and be happy. So this is the intrinsic part that starts developing naturally. If your mind is inhabited less by negativities and impurities and dramas, etc., as these gradually get less and less, the other part of your mind, which is actually the natural underlying part of the original state of your mind, comes more and more through, which is positivity, compassion for others, all these positive qualities. And as these naturally develop, there's a tendency of you to try and help so that others may also get opportunity to experience a kind of happiness or a kind of peace or calm for themselves. And out of that natural volition that develops, you start finding ways how you can help. And for some that has nothing to do with a meditation course. For some that's simply being helpful in a society, help people that struggle or provide support here or there. For others, it's specifically relating to a meditation course, where somebody who's a good cook may come to the center and cook occasionally or regularly. Or you maybe help start organizing courses, or you start being active in, the whole setup of an organization, like this Vipassana trust in different regions, etc. So you will find ways of how you would like to just help others. And in our case, it just so happened it went through all of these stages, helping a bit here and there, and actually serving in courses, and eventually organizing courses ourselves. These courses we did in Spain, quite a few. And eventually there was just a natural progression. And, would you like to serve in the function of assistant teacher? And that over time, over now, almost 20 years has developed into us serving in these functions as conducting courses, among other things.
Beautiful. And that in a way is the metta or the Maitri Bhavana, right? The metta Bhavana or the Maitri Bhavana.
Yeah, it's so, and I'm glad that you asked about service at the end here, because the service, yes, it is service for others, but it is also service for yourself, because giving this service and helping others in turn strengthens your own practice, reinforces your own positive habit patterns. So in the end, you're really serving for yourself. So you can continue developing, but a lot of other people will benefit from it, which in turn reinforces everything that you are receiving.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when we do the metta bhavana at the end, the course, like giving it all away, like, really, really wishing the best for everybody, all beings, is like life changer. Right? That's beautiful, profound.
It's a healthy attitude to life in general. And when you experience it in the depths of your mind and from the bottom of your heart, as we say in the worldly language, it really can change your perception of the world and have a really impact on how you interact and how you go about things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian. I do still have a lot of questions, but I know we are running out of time, and I do want to give opportunity to our participants, right? And folks, this is your opportunity to ask questions live to Christian. Please don't be shy. This is a safe space, non-judgmental. Please be free and open up and ask questions to him. Over to you, Sunil. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, as Shibu mentioned, this is a safe space, and please feel free to raise your hand. You can unmute and ask the question directly on the cam, or maybe you can put it on the chat. We can pick up the questions from there as well. Please feel free.
Yeah, if you guys are not asking, I'm just going to say, I'm going to continue asking questions. So
I have a basic question to Christian. Fundamentally, what distinguishes this Vipassana from other meditation techniques, and what are the benefits one can expect to experience over a period of time?
Yeah, very, very good question, very important question. As we know, there's literally hundreds or even thousands of different techniques of meditations. If you look at them, the majority of them has the concentration of mind as a focus, trying to concentrate your mind. And then with that concentration of mind, different things will come. Visualizations, this or that. There is a benefit in concentrating your mind. Certainly. There is a superficial tranquility, a superficial, calmness, etc. And that is good. That is positive. That is better than not having a focused mind. What Vipassana does, it's not about the concentration of mind. The concentration of your mind is then used as a tool to dig deeper and start developing wisdom about who you are, why you are the way you are, how all of this works. And with this wisdom, you start actually using that to your advantage by aligning yourself with these underlying laws of nature, if you want to call it like that, and fundamental mechanisms of how everything works. And doing so, you develop your own peace of mind, calmness, clarity, purity of mind in the end, which comes with all these benefits that I just mentioned, that just naturally develop as you develop your own purity of mind. So I would say it is working on a deeper level instead of working on the surface level of the mind, which you can do via concentration of the mind, because you use the reality of an object, both at a surface level with the breath and then at deeper level with your body sensations. Naturally, deeper things start to come up, and you can start to work with them. And in the end, try to change your whole being, the whole way that you exist, from a reacting standpoint with lots of negativity to a non-reactive pattern where lots of good things come from.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. And I think that so which means we can easily address the specific life challenges like stress, anxiety,
Yeah.
complex
You will,
relationships. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Anything that comes to you in life. And life will bring you positive things and negative things. That is life. Everybody will have that. No matter whether you're rich or poor or this gender or that or this race or that, life will bring you all these different things, positive, negative, whatever. If you start developing the wisdom within yourself to deal with all of these things calmly, equanimously, with wisdom and clarity, none of this will be able to disturb you much or will be able to bring, deep unhappiness in you. And that is the benefit in the end. You just happy in the end. And there's not many things that can, bring you out of that.
Yep. Thank you so much. I think there's a question posted by Shri Kalaji. Master Christian G. G is a term which we use in a respectful manner. I'm sure you're aware. You mentioned that there are some that might not feel at ease keeping the mind silent because of past conditioning or other. I'm sorry, not able to read this term, and that it needs to overcome that conditioning. How to overcome such conditioning? How to overcome the uneased mind?
Yeah, it's very common. Everybody is dealing with that. And I saw another question that relates to this a little bit. We us humans, we're always trying to see things black and white. Like, there's something there, I want to overcome it, meaning I want it to completely be gone. But in reality, all of this is actually happening in between. You cannot, with a switch, get rid of something or achieve something or etc. It is a process. And in this meditation specifically, you will notice that these tendencies, whether this is the unease, many people have different tendencies. They will be there because that has become part of your being. But what you are doing, you start to train your mind to focus on something specific and develop certain, qualities and certain abilities with that. Meaning, in our case, awareness, your body sensations, equanimity with these body sensations. The other part of your mind is going to start training that and developing that. Other parts of your mind are still, there's going to be unease for some people, anxiety for others, lots of passion, lots of depression, whatever it may be. Everybody has all these things in different measures and quantities. But as soon as you start developing the ability to actually focus on something, in this case, body sensations, and the equanimity to be with this will grow. This will grow. And little by little, all these other things will get weaker and weaker and weaker. They're not going to immediately disappear, but instead of your mind constantly rolling in this unease or anxiety or whatever it may be, you focus on something else. And the mind, the part that is able to focus on that and be with that, is gradually going to strengthen and increase. And everything else that occupies your mind is gradually going to get weakened and decreased. So it's a process that needs to be repeated over and over and over, which is what we call practice, in order to continue developing these tendencies in your mind.
Right.
And just because you aren't able to solve this specific thing, unease or whatever it may be, within an hour or within the first course or whatever, nobody can do that. It takes time to develop the ability to simply deal with it, accept that this is what there is, that is part of what you are, but you have a tool here that over time and gradually is able to actually, I don't want to call it get rid of it, but gradually weaken all these negative tendencies, and they won't be able to overpower you anymore and to cause you distress or sadness or negativity.
Great. Thank you so much. We have a question by Mr. Sashikiran. I have done 3 10-day course, but my nature of perfectionist or a doubt whether I am doing it right hindered my regular practice. But I keep trying again and again. What's a suggestion to strengthen my regular practice?
The suggestion is you continue doing exactly what you're doing. So you described it beautifully, actually. You described, in essence, the situation of every meditator. We're not perfect. We're striving to be perfect, but we're not. We cannot do this thing that we envision we are doing in a perfect way, in an ideal way, but you continue giving effort. This continuing to give effort is what drives the growth. And by continuing to give this effort, you continue the practice little by little by little. And with that, your ability and your wisdom grows. And the doubt and the fear and the anxiety and all of those things gradually will go away, not by some magic trick, but by your own experience that continues to evolve and expand. So continue exactly what you're doing. Nobody has understood the entirety of the technique after 3 courses. Nobody has become perfect after 3 courses. But little by little, continue making that effort, continue working with that meditation. Some sessions you will be, oh, now I got it. Now I finally understood it. Now I know exactly how it's going to be the rest of my life. And then 2 sessions later, you're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, what's happening. But you develop a deep understanding, a trust, and an ability by continuing to repeating this practice over and over and over. So nothing wrong at all. You're in the same situation as every other meditator. The good thing is you're already aware of it. So simply continue making that effort, continue the practice, and over time, little by little, your wisdom will grow, where eventually you will not have many or any doubts, or not have many or any anxieties about, your progress or your path.
Yep, thank you so much. Just want to add one point there. So is it the lack of motivation or lack of commitment that is hindering this? Because we all wanted to do good, as you rightly said, perfectionist, or there is something there we need to do, but maybe a lack of motivation, commitment. And I mean, are there any tips, any specific tips? I know you mentioned already about this part, about the consistency. Is there anything that you want to add on there?
Yeah, there's no magic for this. In fact, at the end of the 10-day course, Wenka talks about how to apply this in daily life. And one of the things he says is have a strong determination that for the next year, you will practice this daily. So we talked about it earlier. Our own conditioning creates, barriers for ourselves. Changing that is not easy. Changing the conditioning of ourselves, of our mind, our habits, all of that is not easy. An initial inertia has to be overcome. So what you call lack of motivation, it's really your habit patterns taking over. They're very powerful. They're very strong. They've developed over a long period of time. And now you say, I want to change that. That is not easy. So this strong determination in yourself to say, yeah, I know I don't want to sit now. I don't care. I'm going to sit now anyway. Like, whatever. And this continued over and over and over. You will overcome those difficulties, those habit patterns. And in terms of motivation itself, just keep remembering the benefit that you experienced already when doing this, the positive insights you started developing, and build on that. Like the fact that any of you who've set a course or are interested in course or are simply trying to be good people, there's already a lot of positive potential that you built up, again, also over long periods of time. Continue building on that. Continue tapping into that and use that as your motivation to keep going and keep riding.
Wonderful. Thank you. There is a follow-up question on the first question that was asked. Thanks a lot for this explanation. May I ask one last question to this? What if I am again in that uneased state of mind? would you advise to stop at that and keep continuing another day, or forcefully sit and keep on trying to focus? I think you mentioned something connected to that just now. Would you want to add something more?
No, very good question. If you find yourself in this state of unease, if you can go back to what does this actually feel like physically? What are the body sensations that you're feeling when you're in that unease state of mind? You may feel, oh, these are the sensations that I'm having when I'm in this unease state of mind. That way you start removing actually the rolling in this unease, which is what's happening when you there's this unease again, and usually you actually have a certain object that you projected on. This is causing me unease, or a certain memory, or whatever it is. So you actually start removing that and just focus on the sensation. If it's so strong that you can't do anything, go back to Anapana. Feel your breath, observe your breath, and see if you can do that. What you should try not to do is to just, let me just stop this altogether and let's do it another day. Actually, these moments when you feel that unease, that is your opportunity to work with that. That is when you can make actual progress. If you work with this in the way that this technique intends you to work, like focusing on your body sensation, and let this, whatever mental content is, leave it aside, let it play on the side like a radio, but focus on your body sensations instead. Again, this will weaken, you will come out of it. If it's so powerful that you cannot even practice Vipassana, go back to Anapana. It's a bit more obvious, and it can occupy your mind with being focused on that. And again, you're with reality and not reacting. And the same mechanism will apply. This gets weaker. Eventually, you will not roll in it any longer. So look at it, this state of unease or any other emotion or impurity that comes up in the mind, fear, anger, frustration, hate, passion, whatever it may be. When those things come up, that is your opportunity to work with them. Be thankful that they come up. Now you can work with them. Go to your practice, observe your sensations. If you can't, go to your breath, observe your breath. And that is how you work with it.
Yeah, wonderful. You actually hit the nail. Thank you. There is a fundamental question. Is it possible to do Vipassana meditation at home without any course? I think you already mentioned the first thing Shibu asked was this.
Yeah, it's of course it is. And that is the goal. That you're able to practice by yourself independently from anything. The course is there for you to learn it and to deepen it, regularly. But the goal is, of course, ultimately that you meditate by yourself at any given moment or place or time, that you are able to simply meditate yourself. So the whole point of learning this technique is so that you can apply it independently of where you are, who is around you, etc. So yes, definitely. The technique is supposed to help you throughout your life and not just in a specific setting during a 10-day course. So you need the 10-day course to learn the technique, and maybe a few more courses to really learn it in deeper aspects of it. But the technique itself is something that you can and should practice anytime and anywhere.
Thank you. I think I lost a track of time. It's already 5 past the scheduled time. Do you have, maybe another 5 minutes?
Okay. Absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely. No problem at all.
Thank you so much. We have a very interesting question by Rasmiji. Thank you for this beautiful session. Do we need to do any preparation before we go for this 10-day session, either mentally or physically, for those who would be doing this course for the first time?
Yeah, very good question. There is not really much that you can prepare specifically mentally, simply because if you haven't done a course like this or meditation in general, it's going to hit you as something new, one way or another. And there's going to be challenges for everybody, whether you've done it before or not. There is things that you can do physically. If you are a regular consumer of any type of intoxicants, um, alcohol or marijuana, other intoxicants, and even cigarettes. If you can try to tone that consume habits down at least 2 weeks before the course, that will be very helpful. Because if you're having a heavy habit of smoking cigarettes or drinking or whatever it may be, just the physical withdrawal symptoms alone during a 10-day course will make it so much harder to deal with everything that's going on. You're going to have, few moments and challenges either way. But because there's a physical challenge that you add by having a withdrawal from something, it would be great if you can start that withdrawal ahead of time so that you're not dealing with the heaviest impacts of it during the course. That is the one thing that we suggest people do when we learn in the application that they have quite heavy or strong habits of certain intoxicants, etc. That is the one thing that we recommend them to do. Other than that, it's not too much you can do to prepare specifically for this course if you've never done anything like this. Just come in with an open mind and, the volition to really learn this technique. Stay for the full 10 days to give it a real full trial. That's maybe the most valuable thing of all that you can bring to the course.
Great. Thank you. Wonderful points. There are a few thanking messages as well. Shibu, do you have any? I know you mentioned there are still a lot of questions lying in your kitty.
I wouldn't want to ask those because I know you're all at time, and that also leaves me an opportunity to request Christian to come again back to our platform, right? Either in IFSS or Shambhala or somewhere, because there is a lot more to be covered, right? I think this is a great session, Christian. A lot of clarity to a lot of people, and I really appreciate you accepting our invite and coming in here. Thank you so much. And I'm pretty sure that. And again, this is an open request for you to again come back, again give us more time for future sessions at some point.
Yeah. I'll be happy to do so. I'm glad that you guys created a forum like this where people with interest are actually able to practice a little bit in the beginning and then learn more about different topics and different things. So yeah, I'll be happy to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christian. And again, also this session won't be complete without thanking the Grand Master, Gautam Buddha itself, because he's ultimate, one of the greatest spiritual scientists of all time, right? The Vipassana technique and the Anapana we're talking about, everything was given to us by Gautam Buddha. So just want to express our gratitude to the Grand Master who gave us all this, created this platform, all of it, right? So just wanted to mention it because I know we didn't talk about Buddha in a session on Vipassana. So
very good point, Shibu. Very, very adequate point.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the last one thing is, and the reason why we wanted something like this is to inspire the 80% of us who have not done a course like this. Please consider it. Irrespective of what the mind tells us, as Christian was saying, right? Consider going for a course. Just see it for yourself. The theoretical knowledge is great, but to experience it, right? Deepen the practice. So, that's our wish. And, that's one of the reasons why we wanted it. That's the reason why I wanted Christian to come into this platform, a teacher to come into this platform and talk to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shibu. Thank you, Samir.
Thank you, Shibu. Christian, one final question. Are there any recommended resources or readings that you can, do for anyone who wants to further deepen their understanding of Vipassana philosophy, its application in daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend one website. It's called pariyatti.org. That's PARIYATTI. pariyatti.org, and there you will find numerous books for free, mostly articles, videos, etc., that you can start working with. The book that is closely connected to just explaining a bit this course and then covering the basics of what is being taught in a course. It's called The Art of Living by William Hart. So that's a great starting point. But then there are numerous other books and resources on that website. Exactly the one that Shibu just posted there. That's it. As I said, most of, not all, is for free, and very valuable resources that throughout one's journey are going to continue to provide insights and help. Yeah.
Okay. Could you repeat the author name of Art of Living you mentioned?
Yes, William Hart. Hart as in H-A-R-T.
Oh, Art of Living, right?
Art of Living, correct.
I'm just putting into the chat. Because, yeah, great. Yeah, because most of us are so fond of books, and it is highly recommended to read.
Absolutely.
So these are handy. Well, I don't see any questions left because of time, because we usually very disheartened to, sometimes we just exceed time and there are still a few more questions, but I'm happy that all the questions are answered. And thank you so much that you extended the time than the schedule. Christine, thank you so very much on behalf of IFSS. It was so, pleasure listening to you. Thank you for accepting our invite, and thank you, Shibu, for coordinating and getting all these efforts, in line, and that too at a very, very short notice. I know this month is packed with so much of travel and holidays and things like that. So we just want to make the best. So
thank you for having me, and wishing everybody the best of luck in their journey.
Thank you so much. And as Shibu mentioned, we would definitely be very happy to have you again on another program. We'll be in touch.
Yep, absolutely.
So thank you so much, participants. It was wonderful hosting you. It was wonderful to take up those beautiful questions. And signing off for today. Have a beautiful day and have a nice evening in the remaining part of the globe. Thank you so much, and we'll meet again on another wisdom session in about a couple of weeks' time. We'll keep you updated in the WhatsApp chat and other forums. Signing off for today. Thank you so much, Shibu. Bye-bye.